Hi everyone, Shannon here from frugalbeautiful.com. I'm really excited to come back with a new vlog. I haven't recorded a video in a really long time, but I've had some reader questions recently and I thought maybe now is a good time to relaunch a weekly or bi-weekly Q&A for some of our awesome readers out there. And so this week I wanted to tackle one that I've been getting quite frequently, and it's basically about living on a budget in the city. Some of you have reached out about living on an extreme budget like I was in a new city. And as you know, a few years ago I moved from California to Chicago. I was living on about $800 a month, and I posted about it a few months ago and it sparked a lot of interest. People are wondering how I did it, and so I'm happy to share that with you. So I have some advice for you about how I lived on an extreme budget in the city. Even though I was in Chicago, I think this can be basically applicable anywhere, but just so you know, I typically don't dole advice that's like, oh, don't get lattes anymore, or don't get a mani-pedi, or, you know, just live below your means. Well, chances are if you're watching this or you're a frugalbeautiful.com reader, you're already trying to live below your means. You're already living on a tight budget. You haven't had a latte in a long time, and God knows you haven't seen the side of a salon in a while unless it was an occasion. I just don't see many of our readers living frivolously, but they're trying to live below their means on a tight budget or pay off some serious debt, and they're working really hard to do that. So no, I'm not going to be covering any of that kind of advice of, oh, just give up your lattes, because you probably already have done that. So my first piece of advice for living on a budget in the city is to simply get comfortable being uncomfortable. I had to use Craigslist, which is something I have never done previously, and Craigslist became my friend. I actually met my awesome roomie through Craigslist. You know, I've gotten furniture on Craigslist, I've sold furniture on Craigslist. You have to get comfortable being uncomfortable in order to save money. That leads into the fact that I had two roomies in a not so glam apartment on the north side of Chicago. I didn't even have a door. I had a curtain for a door. We had no elevator on the 4th floor, no air conditioning, no washer dryer, no nothing. There were no perks about this place. So you can say I was the epitome of uncomfortable for some time. And also learning to live with roommates who I had met through the internet was also quite a lesson, not only in frugality, but living in a small confined space. You have to do other things that might make you uncomfortable, like asking for discounts, learning to share, learning how to ask for things when you need it. I know for Americans sometimes it's weird to borrow things, but get comfortable borrowing things, whether that means from your local library or swapping on Craigslist or making friends that are also frugally minded and not judgy in order to swap services, in order to swap, you know, like, hey, can I borrow your crock pot? Or hey, you know, if you do a photo shoot for me, I'd be happy to help you paint your bedroom, or, you know, swap. Do things that kind of make you uncomfortable. Additionally, I had to sell my car. It just wasn't feasible for me to have a car downtown, so I decided to sell it. And sometimes it made me really uncomfortable being on the bus at 2 in the morning after a long day of work when I had to work nights. But sometimes you have to be uncomfortable. Know that and lean into it. It's okay. My next piece of advice is that sharing is caring. Like I said before, I had to have two roomies, so it was very, very comfortable. Uncomfortable, very, very confined. But sharing is caring. You learn how to share with one another, which is something in America we don't like to do. We like to have our own stuff, but get used to sharing your stuff and get used to sharing your space. When you have more money, you can buy more space. You can buy more stuff. But when you have no money, you have to share your space, whether that's on public transit or having roomies or taking community yoga classes instead of having one-on-one instruction, or using a really crowded gym instead of a really exclusive high-end gym. You know, little things like that. You have to share your literal space with stuff. You have to share your stuff with other people in order to save money. So sharing is caring. Of course, the cliche advice, use your local library, take community college courses to save money. Find if you can get stuff from the thrift store or yard sales, or just swap with one another. Those are great ways to save money, but don't be afraid to share with people, because right now you can't afford a lot of space, chances are, and you probably can't afford, you know, the comfort of your own car or the comfort of, you know, first class airlines. You just know that when you're on a budget, people are in your space a lot more, so get used to that. It's okay. Another piece of advice is to get creative on your entertainment. You probably hear my pug padding around. Ralph is roaming around, so you might hear him hacking or clicking on the floor because he will not sit still. Anywho, back to this creative entertaining. So when you have more money, you can afford to be spontaneous. If you decide to see Captain America for full price in the theater, heck, you have the money to do that. Right now though, you can't afford to be as spontaneous as you'd like. Everything needs to be planned. So if you're working a job and your buddies want to go out for drinks, you kind of have to be selective as when you go out. You need to plan ahead. You need to have a meal plan. You need to have a budget. You need to find entertainment that is either free or find a way to do what you want for cheap. Let's just say you want to see the new awesome Marvel action flick that comes out, or the new Disney flick. You can't just go out on a whim and be like, it's Saturday night, let's go. You kind of have to see, okay, well, I want to see this new Captain America movie. How can I afford to do that? Should I do matinee? Do I have a Groupon? Do I have a gift certificate I could use? Is there a time I could go, or a theater that's actually cheaper? Like in Chicago, we have theaters that you can go to a couple weeks after it hits the theaters for like $3. You can see any time of day a movie you want, and usually the food's cheaper too. It's awesome. Or do you have to save money by waiting until it comes out on video and get it from Redbox or on Netflix? You have to plan ahead. So just know that you have to get creative on your entertaining that way. Additionally, find things for free. I know this is cliche, but look at your local parks and rec, your local library, and see if you can get free passes to the museum, or, you know, free classes you can take, things like that. Don't be afraid to look for free resources. One of my favorite things to do is to go downtown to Millennium Park. You grab your own bottle of wine and a picnic basket, and simply watch a free concert out on the lawn. It's one of my favorite things about summer in Chicago, and I know that you're probably in a city or even a small town that has something similar to this, you know, movies in the park or something where, you know, you're already paying for it. Your local library and your parks are paid for by your taxes. Why not enjoy it? But also, another piece of advice with entertaining is, in the city, it's easy to pay $12 for a martini. Make sure you get creative. Can you pregame at home and save some money? Can you go during happy hour? Or can you have a potluck at your house to save on food and entertainment costs? I would highly recommend that you don't be afraid to entertain at home. You know, just because you're at home doesn't mean you have to be a shut-in. I made the mistake frequently while I was in Chicago to be a complete hermit because I couldn't afford to go out. I really wish I would have invited people over more to my space so we could have cocktails or wine and watch Netflix or whatever it is, because, you know, $8 for a glass of wine or $8 for an entire bottle at home, you know, $8 out or $8 for even more while you're at home, it's just simple math. You can save a lot of money being creative about your entertainment by letting people come into your space, potlucking, finding things for free, parks and rec. Don't be afraid to use what you have. You don't always have to be the spontaneous or frivolous spender of like, oh, whatever, we're just gonna go out to brunch. You have to plan ahead, but you can, with some creativity, you can plan smart. My next piece of advice is kind of weird, but your hobbies are really important. What you do in your day life to earn money, your day job, your 9 to 5 is important, but what you do at home for fun is also a great indicator of your financial success. So not only are your hobbies, not only can they not make you money, but they could also be costing you a lot of money. Case in point, knitting. I used to love knit when I was in California. I loved to scrapbook as well. Crafting in general is something I really love to do. And I do it again now that I have a little bit, you know, more room in my budget. But when I was a really broke grad student in Chicago, I found that knitting was not only costing me a lot of money because I was trying to buy nice yarns, it was costing me a lot of time to put together a scarf that I could buy for $5, you know, from like Target. But it also wasn't making me any money. Something you have to seriously consider. Can a hobby that you have make you money? Or simply can you cut back on a hobby that's costing you too much money? Like scrapbooking, it's not making you any money and it's probably costing you probably 30 or 40 bucks every time you go to the craft store. So I found that once I started blogging, that became my hobby. I also picked up skills that would look great on a resume, like writing, photography, website editing, you know, basic Photoshop skills that I put on my resume later. But I also use this as a side hustle. I took on some freelancing gigs to earn some, you know, extra side hustle income with social media consulting or freelance writing. I also took ads on my website, and I also got some sponsored post deals. But the things you do don't necessarily have to be blog related. You can make some money. I don't know, if you like photography, sure, that costs you money, but could you photograph, you know, your friend's pets for a small fee? You may be an amateur photographer. You can charge amateur prices. You just have to find other people who are budget minded like you that want to document the special parts of their life but don't want to pay full price. This can also be, you know, apply to anything else. Whether you do resume editing or you do makeup, you love makeup, you know, is a friend of yours having a baby shower that you could do her makeup for, if she's doing like a maternity shoot or she's, you know, getting ready to graduate, or her engagement session where you wouldn't hire a full professional makeup artist, but if you're really good with it, maybe a friend would just, you know, pay you a couple bucks or take you out to lunch to do it for her. You know, barter, swap, have your hobbies either make you money or, you know, a win-win where you swap services. Anywho, I know that's a lot of stuff, but those are just some of the ways I found, unconventional ways that I lived on a really tight budget in the city. You know, basically, long story short, you just have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. You have to learn to depend on one another. You pay a lot to be these little family nuclear units that we have sometimes out in the burbs. In the city, you probably won't have that. So learn to lean on other people, learn to ask for help, learn how to barter and swap services, learn to ask when you want a discount, and communicate ways to be a real bootstrapper. If you can't buy it, can you make it? Can you build it? Can you find it for cheaper? Or can you do without? Just get creative in all aspects of the word. Sometimes being on an extreme budget really sucks. I'm not gonna lie to you, but try and make an art out of it and try and make it as fun as possible. And before you know it, you'll have your debt paid off, you'll be out of school, maybe you'll have a new job, and you'll be really thankful that you did as much as you could and not completely sacrifice your sanity to save this money now. So anyway, I hope this was helpful. I hope you send me some more questions so I can answer them via vlog. If you like this, leave a comment below. I would love to hear from you. And again, thank you so much for being a reader and now viewer of frugalbeautiful.com, and I'll catch you again later. Thanks.